channel. And if you are viewing us on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, I invite you to please drop a note in the comments and let us know where you're viewing from. We've been getting some really nice comments, and so it's nice to see the different areas where people are joining and connecting with us here at the Monterey Center. We're concluding our theme for the month, Speaking Truth to Circumstances. Recall our definition of the word circumstances, that which is standing around us. It is a combination of our individual thinking and our collective unconsciousness and the collective unconsciousness of others. However, more powerful than all circumstances is the infinite. Standing with us, all around us, above us, below us, behind us, and behind the circumstances, calling us to see it, the infinite, through these walls. And this ties in with our song for this morning, I Will Be Your Standing Stone. And this is what the infinite is saying to us. Behind all of these circumstances, these seeming monsters, whatever it is appearing in your life, I will be your standing stone. And just a brief recap of the month. In week 1, we recognize the circumstances are never true. By looking them in the face as the monsters they seem to be, we neutralize their power. And in week 2, we discovered the ways that we have accepted or been hypnotized by the media and cultural conditioning. The awareness of being hypnotized allows us to free ourselves from reaction to authentic action. We no longer hide in our little caves of safety. We recognize that this world is interconnected. In week 3, we learned the value of being patient and standing in truth with Shiva, who is the goddess of compassion. And we are equipped with the tools for the job. Last week, we discovered the wise warrior has the power to change and create real change by being authentic and spirit-centered. And today we're going to take a little side trip and gain some insights into the ways that the standing stones move us from transition to transformation. And in our opening statement, our statement of being, which is our mission, vision, and purpose statement for the Monterey Center, we talk about one of our goals is to be that transformation place, that transformation point that brings about the change in the world that we wish to not only be, but we wish to see. In this adventure called life, we face the seeming walls of circumstances that are made of stone. Now, stones can provide a variety of places in our lives. Stones can be a fortress that may offer security, that shields us from the outer world. Stones can be those symbolic things that people throw at us from time to time, sometimes literally, most of the time figuratively, I believe. Stones can be part of a beautiful landscape. Stones have a variety of uses in a variety of places in our lives. They speak to us, and so let us listen and then speak back to them. Ernest Holmes says, to think independently of every existing circumstance. Think independently of every existing circumstance. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. And the absolute is the realm of thinking where we are connected with the infinite power from which all circumstances spring. However, a reminder, the absolute, the infinite, is greater than any circumstances. Holmes further says, if we have a strong picture or a mental concept of what we desire, and we hold on to that mental equivalent, regardless of circumstances or conditions, we must sooner or later manifest according to this concept. And I remember when I was going through practitioner studies and we were delving more into this idea of mental equivalence, there was a block that I had to completely understanding what this whole concept was. And finally, one of the graduating practitioners had come back in to support our class with some mentoring and tutoring and spent some time with me and just drew concentric circles that said, you know, this is how the mental equivalent works. You start small and you expand, and you expand, and you expand, and you expand. And that concept really resonated with me, and I go, finally, I've got it. This is what is meant by creating those mental molds, those containers that allow us in consciousness to really focus on what it is that we want in life. And it's from that place that we learn to not ask, how am I going to achieve this or attain this, but what is Spirit calling forth from within me to move forward and achieve this particular goal or whatever it is. With every circumstance, some people are happy with it, some are unhappy with it, and some just don't care. And it's okay to be in either of those places. If we turn to the teachings of the Master Teacher Jesus, he says, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall never pass away. This is meaning that nothing on earth, and thus no circumstances or set of circumstances, is eternal. This is a great reminder for us to rise up and to not get caught up in the wall of circumstances and conditions, but to anchor our minds in the absolute, the real infinite. One alone in consciousness constitutes a complete majority. One alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. This powerful statement by Ernest Holmes gives us a direction and a knowing of how to face the standing stones in our lives. The teachings of Jesus again reveal the same invitation when he says, go into the closet, into the secret, and commune with the Father, which is the absolute. When these stones are dream stealers, and I refer to them as this committee in my head that chooses to convene when I'm really serious about something, and sometimes I just have to get very direct with the committee and say, not now, not now. And of course they keep chattering, and finally I get more direct and I just say, shut up. And that, you know, whatever tactic, whatever technique that works for you to bring about that place of stillness and peace within, use it. This is something that works for me. When these stones or dream stealers speak to us of our limitation, of their solidarity with our frailty, and their power over our weakness, this is the time to go alone into consciousness with the infinite. Here is where we find our true strength, a strength that is far greater than any stone of circumstance. To go alone into consciousness is to meditate on what Holmes calls the perfect life. It's not to meditate on my ideal of a perfect life. It's not to meditate on my way. It is to reflect and bring forward the idea of the perfect life. This is our call to surrender our own ideas and to make room for the greater idea that we are called to bring forth. Sometimes the road can be long, and I know this from my own personal experiences. When we finally banged our head against the stones of life enough, we come to a point where our ego and intellect finally has to admit, I don't know how to fix this. And I think I may have shared the story of my own experience of finally beating my head up against that wall and not stepping through the open door that was inviting me into ministry. I'm just standing here in resistance. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And Spirit had the last word, as it usually does. And I found myself in a place where there was no wall any longer. There was nothing for me to lean behind onto. There was nothing for me to lean forward into, except to step through that open door and say yes. And I remember I just said, okay, God, I surrender. I surrender. And my hands were actually elevated when I said, I surrender. And that was when I finally could hear for myself the call to ministry. And it had been something that had been projected into my life starting, I think, when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. You know, I was programmed by outer sources, programmed into, or attempted to be programmed into this area called ministry. And I fought it, and I fought it, and I fought it. And finally, it's like, okay, God, I don't know how to fix this. I surrender. I remember the first time I heard Michael Beckwith say this: a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. I just kind of froze for a moment and I said, wow, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. When we turn to that which is greater than we are and let go of my way for the highway, this infinite presence we recognize will reveal what is required for the true transformation to occur. And again, back to my story of coming into ministry. When I said yes, we were living out of state and were planning to move back to California. In fact, the California move was already in motion. And I remember calling, we were moving back to Oakland, and the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, at that time it was First Church of Religious Science. This was prior to the integration. Agape had a satellite campus at the Oakland Center, and we were moving back to Oakland. So I called the registrar at Agape, whom I knew, and the response was, well, we've been waiting for you, and this is the final week of open registration, so send me, gave me a list of things to send, and she says, you have access to email and a fax? Yeah, yep. Fax it to me, send in the request for this, and let me know that you sent the request and have it directed to us. All of the details. So everything. So I actually matriculated into ministerial school, moving cross country, and everything that was required just miraculously appeared. So I had released my way for the highway, and the infinite made the way plain. This is where transformation takes place. Unity minister Jane Simmons offers this analogy to help us understand the idea of transition and transformation. And she writes, imagine yourself swimming in the ocean, and suddenly a riptide begins to pull you out to sea. You battle against it, making some progress. Then a couple of strong swimmers come along and help you. After a long struggle, you finally get back to shore. That's transition, the long, slow struggle to make things better. Transformation is when you suddenly wake up, realizing that you were in your bed all along, that this was a dream, you're completely dry, and you were never in any real danger. Transformation comes not through struggle and extreme effort and heroics on our part. Transformation comes from connecting with the deep and often unconscious truth of our being. Transition can improve our situation. Transformation radically alters it at the core. What the world is calling for right now is not battling from the transitional forms, or not battling with the transitional forms. There appear to be the stone walls. It is calling for transformation, which can only come from turning away from from the battle and toward the infinite. You notice the invitation here is to always return to that place where God shows up, recognizing I am the place where God shows up. I turn to that infinite experience within me. I turn to that absolute that is expressing itself through me and through all of circumstances, knowing that this is where my truth lies. This is where my truth exists. We turn alone to the infinite without our agenda, without our plans, without our conditioned sense of right or wrong. And we let go of the false gods and seek the kingdom of the one. Only then can everything else be added. Transformation is being still, asking, and listening. One of our transformation tools in Science of Mind is the practice of spiritual visioning. We imagine taking our stones and placing them on the altar of God and saying, I have done all I know to do. This is now yours. Another way of saying, I surrender. I surrender my will. I let go of my agenda. I am ready for transformation to take place. And so our concluding takeaways and our call to action this morning. Instead of fighting with the stones or accepting the stones as just the way it is, we go within and solidify with all that there is. This is where we connect with the absolute. We rest from the battles and the wars of good versus evil, right versus wrong, and we stop beating our heads against the stones. There will always be stones. However, we can live in a greater freedom by leaving them standing where they are. We set the intention to live in freedom, the only agenda of the universe. To live in freedom is the only agenda of the universe. And most importantly, be gentle with yourself and also with the world. Put down your swords and shields and listen to the stones. What are they saying to us? What is their gift to us? Approach them with curiosity and wonder instead of anger and righteousness. Who knows? Maybe one of these stones will be a beautiful and valued part of our garden. Let us now say together our weekly affirmation. I will say it and then I will invite you to respond. I am listening to Spirit's highest idea for my life. I am listening to Spirit's highest idea for my life. And I invite us to turn within as we go to that place where the infinite always is. Remembering that there is not a place where God is not. The infinite, that which is the origin of all there is, often referred to as the beloved, the creative intelligence, spirit, God, source, universal intelligence. Whatever term there is that resonates with you, I invite you to be there now. Call forward that connection with source. Knowing that I am one with the source of all that there is. And that we who are gathered this morning, we are gathered whenever this particular talk is being viewed. We who are gathered in the name and nature of the one love are living emanations of its essence. It is a very vital life force that connects all that there is together. And so as we recognize the interconnectedness of all life, I speak my word this morning, declaring that the standing stone of the spirit of the absolute within is that which guards and guides and sustains us as we travel on this journey called life. Knowing that wherever we are on this adventure, that where our paths may intersect with another, or where we may travel parallel or seemingly opposite roads, somewhere in consciousness, there is a meeting point. There is a point where we come together and say, I am with you as we travel this journey together, knowing that the destination is always taking us back to this place that is called home. I speak my word this morning for the families of those who have stepped off of this mortal plane. And we call into our memory this morning our beloved Reverend Ann Young, who made her transition recently, either Friday evening or Saturday morning. Knowing that the life that expressed as Reverend Ann here at the Monterey Center leaves an indelible place in the love of this center. And so we are grateful for that love. We're grateful for that energy that is a part of the DNA of this particular spiritual community, knowing that it lives on within our hearts and our minds and our memories. And for others whose names I do not know at this point, that have stepped off of this mortal plane, I speak my word of blessing for the families, knowing that the loved one has just changed form from local to non-local, and yet lives on in our hearts and in our memories. For those who are experiencing a desire and a quest for right livelihood, for those who are impacted by outer circumstances, I am declaring that all is well, because everything begins in consciousness. And so as negotiations are taking place, as conversations are taking place, as resumes are being filled out, as resumes are being submitted, whatever the process is, I'm knowing that the divine yes is revealing itself as right livelihood for those who seek it, knowing that that which we seek is also seeking us. I speak my word this morning, a blessing for those who are looking for right livelihood in the form of perfect housing. Those who may be unsheltered by choice or circumstances, I'm declaring that the perfect housing is waiting and is available right here and right now. And those who choose to live unhoused, I am blessing them as they find the right and perfect location for safety, for security, for the free expression of who they are called to be, knowing that each one is the place where God shows up. And I also speak my word for places where people are gathering in the name and nature of the one life, the name and nature of the infinite, the name and nature of the absolute, knowing that all is well and that everything is unfolding in divine, right, and perfect order. And for this, and so much more, I am eternally grateful. Releasing this word back into the law, knowing that it is propelled into action by love. This dynamic combination, working in tandem with each other, love and law, is bringing all things to pass. I am knowing that everything that we desire is already provided, it is already manifested. And so in gratitude for the demonstration that is already taking place, I let it go, I let it be. And I invite you to affirm this with me as we say together, and so it is, and so it is. So I invite you to, again, utilize the services of a minister and a practitioner, knowing that we can be that standing stone with you. We can be that standing stone that supports and guides you in the ways that you wish to go. Here in the center, we have a prayer chest and prayer request forms We invite you to fill out a prayer request and leave it in the prayer chest, and the practitioners will pray over it. We will pray with you and pray for you. And for those who would like to schedule a personal appointment with any of us, our contact information is on our website and is also in our newsletter. And now it is time for us to participate in the law of circulation. And this is where we have an opportunity to support the center as a spiritual source for us. And we have an abundance affirmation that I invite us to say together, if we will. I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so for those who are here in the center, we have a donation box on our table in the center where you may leave your donations. We also appreciate and give thanks for those who support us by mail. The address is on our screen. We also are available to receive text donations, and the number for that is on our screen. And also you may donate online, and our website is www.montereycsl.org. I would like to remind those of us who are here in the center, the August issue of the Science of Mind magazine is available for $5. And you can leave your donation in the little container where the magazines are. This will be the commemorative last single issue of the magazine. Because of the cost of paper and postage, primarily paper, the organization has decided to combine the issues, and we will realize a substantial savings from that. So beginning next month and moving forward, the issues will be September, October, November, December, January, February, moving on. The price will remain the same, but you will receive a double issue. And you'll receive, if you receive it by mail, it will come every other month rather than monthly. So I invite you to take advantage of getting the last single issue. And of course, the Asilomar experience is highlighted here. And this year, in our Centers for Spiritual Living, we have two major gatherings where we come together from all over the world. Our annual convention, which takes place in February, sometimes the end of January, and then our annual summer conference, which this year is happening at Asilomar. And for those of us who have been around for a while, we remember Asilomar was the stable location for the summer conference. The annual convention moved around, but Asilomar was our stable place to go for the summer. And then because of finances and other things that were going on, that shifted. And so this year we are returning to Asilomar for our summer conference, and I hope to see you there August the 8th through the 11th. And in the event that you did not pre-register for the early bird, there are day passes available, and those prices are included in our newsletter, and it's also on the Centers for Spiritual Living website, csl.org. Today, following service, you're invited to stay and participate in the potluck, and I'm seeing the nice array of food that is being laid out. So this is a wonderful experience that we have on the fifth Sunday here. This picture is a good representation of what we are to look forward to. And a reminder to participate in our visioning for our spiritual community on Saturdays from 10:30 to roughly 11 o'clock via Zoom. And then on Sunday morning here at the center, in person and also on Zoom, is visioning for our personal growth and expansion and consciousness. On next Sunday, we will have a guest speaker, Mitch Austin, who is a practitioner at the Center for Spiritual Awareness in West Sacramento, and is also a ministerial intern. And you can see a bit of Mitch's bio. He was raised in Science of Mind, licensed in 2012 as a practitioner, and has been speaking at spiritual centers since 2016. And following the service, he is offering a workshop, Taming Your Inner Critic. The value of the workshop is $50, and Mitch is offering it on a donation basis for us. So I invite you all to come and support our guest speaker and participate in the workshop. And then I mentioned SOAR, and I think that concludes the information updates for this morning. And so my birthday is August the 13th, so you got a couple of weeks to prepare for it. Yeah. And I will be here. My daughter sent me a text and asked if I would be in town because they were planning to come over. And because I have something already prearranged for the afternoon, we're going to gather the following Sunday, and I'm going to go and visit them, and we'll have a family celebration. But I will be here on my birthday. And so to our virtual community, we say thank you, we love you, we appreciate you, and God bless you. And we invite you to return next week as we begin our August theme, My Passion and My Purpose. And the topic for our guest speaker's message is, Get Out of the Way, Heaven is Here. So that should be very inspiring and interesting. And so we say good morning and God bless you.